Hi, Daddy.
Hey guys, Ash and Throw. We got Vet Bloodroot Forge doing the first boss. Can't pronounce the name, which is dumb. I should always try to make your boss names pronounceable for people that don't know how to read and pronounce stuff that's right in front of them. Anyway, so we're gonna call this lady the Bramble Witch. So this boss, couple things you got to look out for is she summons ads. The bear will one-shot a tank, will one-shot other players. The tank has to pick them up and make sure they're blocking. On top of that, there is little guys on the ground that will put poison circles all over the ground. It only takes a couple seconds of these poison circles on the ground for them to kill you and mess you up and mess your team up. So right out of the gate, she's going to spawn some bears. She'll spawn these other little ads. And then she's going to eventually go into some brambles. The brambles are what were just around her. If you're inside there, you're going to take a bunch of damage. If you're trying to dodge roll out of it or roll dodge out of it, however you pronounce it, you're going to take a little bit of damage and you might get stunned inside the brambles and then you're going to die. It's very hard to heal through. So like I said, a little bit of damage if you're on the outside, but if you're right on the inside, just stay on the inside. Don't try to come out of those, don't come out of the brambles. Stay in there and just put in some boss deeps while everybody else is outside clearing up the ads until you can get out of there. Hopefully the tank doesn't get stuck in there because it makes it difficult for them to pick up that bear that's going to be one-shotting everybody all over the place. So just be aware of your surroundings. It's rinse and repeat. Don't stand in the poison stacks. Make sure that you're killing the guys that are dropping the poison as fast as possible. In my opinion, they should take a higher priority than the bear and the boss, just because they get out of hand. You see one on the right there, that the strangler. Those guys are the ones that shoot poison all over the place, and it just stays on the ground. You know, and it can stack in the same spot, and a couple stacks in the same spot. You stand in it for 1 or 2 seconds, you're taking a ton of damage. So just be aware of your surroundings. Kill all the ads as fast as possible. Prioritize the strangler, then prioritize the bear, then prioritize the boss, and stay out of the brambles. And then that's the strat for this fight. It is gets a little crazy, but it is fun and it is easily beatable if you just follow those rules: strangler, bear, boss, brambles. Those are the things you got to look out for. All the other ads that come in can be cleaved down. As long as you got a decent group that can focus on that priority, you'll beat this boss. So yeah, just keep an eye out for it and be aware of your surroundings. Make sure you have the color that your eyes pick up easily the most as you're setting in your options. Like every bad thing that happens on the ground to me comes up as bright yellow, just because my eyes pick that color up before everything else, and I know to just get out of it. Yeah, so that's the fight, guys. Hopefully, looking at the fight on how we did it in Vet, maybe you guys aren't doing it that way, or you have a different strat on this stuff. So feel free to throw that into anything that I'm doing, because I'm all for different strats to make things easier. So we'll move into this next boss here. So what this guy does, as soon as you start fighting him, he's pretty much tank and spanky. You can hold him in one spot, keep him faced away from the group, but he's going to supercharge these boulders that are laying around the outside of the, well, all over the inside of the path that we're in. And when he charges them, they're going to come to life. Those immediately need to get taken down. You can just have one DPS do it, is plenty of time to do it. If your DPS is a little bit light, then 2 DPS go do that and kill that. Or a DPS and a healer if your healer's got some strong DPSing abilities. So you're going to work through those. He's going to summon and reincarnate each one of these golems. And if your DPS is high enough, he won't get to the very end, but when he's close to the end, I believe he summons, and I want to say it's around 10 or 15%, he's going to summon all of them and reincarnate all of them. So like I said, they have pretty small health. They're not too much trouble. The only thing you got to worry about is the boss mechanic when he's shooting out fire all over the place, because it does hit hard. So you really need to pay attention to your footwork and stay out of the trash. Again, this dungeon hates vampires. So if you are a vampire, I would suggest, you know, going down to stage 1 so you're not getting wrecked by a bunch of fire. But I haven't played a vampire in a long time, so I don't even know if that's still a thing. But it used to be. So anyways, so kill the stone atronachs and then go back to the boss and just rinse and repeat. Just dodge what the boss is doing, kill the golems when they spawn, and then get back to the boss as fast as possible without standing in fire for too long. It only takes a couple seconds of this fire, and it'll wreck yourself. So just be aware. Make sure if there is a death that DPS is raising that person. I have a nasty habit of manually raising people. I raise people quite often with my ulti, but if my ulti's not up, I still feel like I need to raise people, and I shouldn't, because more often than not it gets us some shit later on in the boss fight. But yeah, just pay attention to what you're doing. Stay out of the fire, and work with your teammates to make sure that all the guys are down. So what's the boss at? He's at 5% and he brought everybody back up, but we were in execute phase there anyways, so it worked out for us. Alright, here we got Galchabar the Minotaur. This boss is pretty easy, but it is a tank check fight. This boss, when you're fighting him, he's going to spawn eruptions in the ground. Those eruptions need to be stood in and blocked by the tank. If they're not, those eruption shards, like lava spew or meteors, whatever you want to call them, will come down. 1 or 2 of those hits a player that's not already in a roll dodge, it will one-shot them. So it's very important that those get plugged off and your heal is focused on making sure that tank is staying alive and driving resources back to them, because it's just a stamina eater. Other than that, there is the shocks that are on the ground. They will randomly target a player and they will chase that player. So you can either run around and just dodge them, or the best way to do it is to find an area that has see, I got hit with one there, that has some rocks that just spawned on the outside. If you jump to the outside onto one of these rocks when a shock is chasing you, the shock will go into the fire and kill itself, and then nobody needs to get stunned and you don't take any extra damage. Other than that, every once in a while the boss is going to do a huge AoE. You need to go onto the outside rocks to get away from that AoE, and you have to wait for this fire to disappear that's around the inside. If you try to jump through that fire, it's also a one-shot. So this fight, tank standing in the volcano blocking, dodging the shocks on the rocks, dodging the big AoE, and then not jumping back in too soon to get hit by that fire. If you handle all those smoothly, you can keep DPSing the boss and you'll burn this guy down in a one shot, which feels nice, because I remember the first time we came in here, we were way under CP, and we fought this boss off and on for like I want to say 2 hours. Like we were all CP 160, but I believe this dungeon requires CP 300. And yeah, so this boss and the last boss can be very tough if you're under CP level. But if you follow the strats, out for the shocks, out for the big AoE, tank standing in the volcano doing the blocks, and whoever can pump resources back to the tank, pump resources back to the tank, it makes easy work of that boss. Now we're on to the second semi-final boss. So what we do here is the tank pulls the 2 main guys out. We completely leave the mage out and to the right. We don't even mess with it. And then we kill these 2 guys first. We generally lead off with the Minotaur, because the Minotaur has this chain ability that locks people down on the ground, and then he needs to be cross-checked to block the chains from coming off before the AoE happens at the bottom and it turns into a one-shot. So kill the Minotaur first, interrupt the Minotaur anytime you see one of your allies stuck in chains. After that, then you target the other melee guy with the 2-handed axe. His attacks are pretty easy to dodge. They're all just big fat AoEs, and you know, it just walk out of it. Do all the damage you can to him. He's tank and spank, nothing special. Just like a regular elite mob that you would fight on your way through a dungeon is the way we look at this guy. Now, by doing this, and we get to the mage in the last spot, there is a ton of damage that's coming out. Healers, be prepared to just heal the shit out of your team. Make sure you keep calling them back in. They're going to feel like they need to run out because they're taking damage and stuff like that, but just keep them close. That way you can heal them all up, have everybody just stand there and just burn through this. I do believe that he can be interrupted, but I shit the bed on that last interrupt. So the way those interrupts work, there's altars on the left and right hand side of the screen that you have to use for the next boss fight. The altar that has a big blood ball on top of it will get rid of all of the lava that's coming out. The fire one, the one that I'm at, if you synergize with it, your cursor has to be over top of the target you're aiming at, and it will stun them. So it's usually used when all the rocks are falling from the ceiling and there's a bunch of stuff happening. You'd run over to the fire one, target the boss, and then synergize with it, and then that lava would shoot onto the boss and stun them for a bit and stop all those rocks from falling down. But our strat on this boss is to completely ignore that mechanic altogether. Everybody just focuses DPS on the boss at the wall that we spawn in at, or where the treasure chest is from beating the previous guys. And then the healer, myself, I'll go over and get rid of the lava consistently as it spawns and get rid of it to keep the floor clear. It's very easy to dodge all these rocks, so we don't feel the need to separate and get stuns off and stuff like that, because it is very easy to see. You don't need to sprint, you don't need to dodge roll, you don't need to waste resources, and then you just DPS the boss. At certain percentage, the boss splits into another smaller piece that should be coming up any minute here. You always want to switch to the smaller piece and then work your way back up to the big piece, to the big boss. Because the smaller pieces have less health, they're easy to manage, and you want to burn them down faster, or else the tank's just taking too much damage from all three, because the big guy, he just takes too long to kill. And you need to, and I believe he may have a shield while the other two are active. I'm not 100% sure there. That's just the strat that we always went with, was to kill the smallest ad that pops up, and it works for us. So again, healer keeps the lava under control, can throw it hots onto the group, keep everybody topped up, run over, synergize, and again, you have to aim where you're synergizing with to get rid of the lava. So I always pick the lava that's closest to where we're at to keep where we're working clear, and that's the name of this game, is keeping the area clear where you and your team are fighting everything and trying to beat the boss. On the tank perspective, I think this is nuts. It's a ton of damage the tanks have to try to deal with and absorb. The little one just spawned in, as you can see on the very left, so everybody on the left is going to start switching over. Hopefully I get that one off. I did. Good. And yeah, you're randomly going to lose DPS because it's hard for tanks to keep a hold of all three all the time, just resource wise. It just makes it very, very difficult. But everybody should be killing the smallest guy first and then moving up to the biggest guy. Again, healer is the best person to clear all the lava. When the lava respawns, it does. I don't know what the timeline is between the respawns when you can clear the lava, like when the altar spawns again and becomes active, but it's very important that you stay on top of that lava and get it cleaned up. If you don't, there's lava everywhere, there's rocks everywhere, this fight gets out of hand very, very, very quickly, and you want to have as much DPS on the boss at all times to keep everything within a manageable level. If your DPS isn't high enough to do it this way, you will need to do a stun, so you have enough time to get extra lava cleanses off. So you would stun, then another person would be over there cleansing the lava off at the same time, so no new lava is spawning the same time the rocks stop coming from the ground, and it lets you keep more control. But the more DPS you get, I'm assuming right now, once we are all above 60, 70, 80k DPS per second, we could probably skip a phase of the lava and just cleanse every second one if our DPS is high enough, but there's enough time, and there's enough time for the healer to do it, so we might as well just cleanse as many as possible, in my opinion. But thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you liked it, and come check out my stream sometime. No, we don't wolf here, bro.